Hey guys, Halloween Dan here. Doing a video today. It's not the shortest video in the world because I wanted to show that I have finished constructing, practically finished constructing my first Halloween horn build of the year. I technically have done a build where I made some of those little lanterns you may have seen in one of my videos, but this is the first large scale thing that I built. It's probably the second largest thing I'm planning to build this year. And it had a lot of different elements to it that kind of took a bit of time. All in all, it took about 3 weeks to build. So the thing I built are my pillars, which will be at the entrance to the horn, or the entrance to our house, really. And I have built these in past year, but they've all been kind of woeful. The ones I built in the years gone by have literally just been cardboard boxes, literally just a singular cardboard box covered in paint. And they last for a while, but they do not like a lot of rain, obviously. And by the end of the season last year, they had certainly had a bad time with the weather. So I knew I wanted to construct something ever so slightly stronger this year, a little bit stronger. I was at first going to build these pillars completely out of pieces of foam because I know that's the strongest way of doing it, with timber probably inside. Foam, though, is expensive here in this country, or at least I think it is. And to be honest, boxes and cardboard in particular, much easier for me to get my hands on. I get a lot from my work. I have gone down the cardboard route again, but I have improved on my past versions of these pillars. So I hope you'll agree that the finished look is very, very good. I'm quite happy with it. So let's just get straight into this. So here we are so far. As you can see, I've started putting together some cardboard boxes. It is very simple and quite rudimentary. This is how I started with this particular thing. It's 3 boxes, 2 larger ones, 1 smaller one, stacked on top of one another. And then also I've cut a box at an angle to create a kind of a shelf. So this is going to be where the flicker flame lamp is going to stand. For strength, I've glued these together. I used a glue called 9-in-1, which is actually used for gluing bits of wood and metal together actually, so it should hold together these boxes no problem. But for extra strength, I've also used this tissue paper. So what I'm going to do is basically a papier-mâché type of a deal. I've got a few more layers of it to put on yet, but this is just me starting to show you exactly what I'm doing. Papier-mâché it's with PVA glue. Here's the glue that I use. I used it when I made my 2 lanterns a few weeks back. As you can see, I've not fully stuck it all down yet. I've got to go over it again with some more glue and a bit of water. And then you can see on the front, I've started to create this kind of I'm calling it a stone pebble fashion. It's the look I wanted to go for. And on the underside of the shelf, I've created sort of a spooky looking face. So once this dries rock solid, which it will do, these will hopefully look a lot more like rocks and pebbles rather than bits of tissue stuck under other bits of tissue. And then when I paint them, I'll paint these in a lighter grey and this in a lighter grey, these in a darker grey, and then add the sort of stone rough up effects that I learned when I was doing my tombstones last year. So this is where we're up to so far, guys. We've got our 1 pillar pretty much ready at the stage for painting, and we're working on our 2nd one. I thought I'd just give you a quick show of how I made these sort of the stony effect, though I'm sure you can probably guess. On this stone we've gone for a slightly more angry looking face carved into the stone. We obviously haven't got this fully done. I just thought I'd quickly show you exactly what it is I'm doing to sort of give it this weird sort of looking stone effect. I know at the minute it kind of just looks like a thing covered in sort of weird spots, but it will look, I hope, more like stone once it's had paint.
It's not like it has spots.
Yeah, spotty pillars. I'll show you how I do this though. So guys, what we do, a few bits of tissue, Finn's filming, so if it's wobbly that's why. We get some tissue. We've got watery glue in here.
Yeah.
Tissue. Put it in. Get it soaked in the glue. Wring it out as much as we can. Sort of form it into a sort of a stony shape. And then bring it on. Leave a gap so that you've got where the cement line would be. And there you have a stone. So this is the paint I'm using to cover the pillars. It's Rustin's ASAP All Surface All Purpose Paint in satin grey, and it really works well just as a base coat. I will cover the pillar later on in lots of different effects, like a stony effect and all kinds of different things, but this just kind of acts as a great base, giving the whole pillar that grey, dark grey coverage. And because it's outdoor paint too, it's external paint, it hopefully should help to weatherproof it too. So we're at the stage where I've fully painted it now. This is just a base coat, the all-purpose paint that I use. I'm planning on using this product. I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat. I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm not quite sure how it's going to look, but this is a Plasticoat stone effect. This is the dark grey stone effect. So I'm going to give this a go, spray it over some of the stones, see how it dries, and then maybe go between the lines of mortar with the lighter grey paint and see what it turns out looking like. So it may have been a bit of a cheat, but I do think that this stone spray paint has actually made it look really good. I'm actually really happy with it. I've covered mainly just what have been the lumps of tissue paper with the spray paint. It's obviously gone on the bits in between as well. And now I'm using just a lighter grey to paint around the details and to put in like mortar lines between the stone so it looks like actual pieces of stone that have been laid into mortar. So so far I think it looks pretty good. I like our face, it's looking pretty good. Okay, so we're at the stage where the pillar, it needs some finishing touches. There are still some bits of tissue to stick down at the back, because the back at the minute just looks like some cardboard boxes, funnily enough. But the front half looks really good, and I'm really happy with how the stones have turned out. I think it looks really smart. So now we're at the stage where we have to age this thing, because it looks too new, doesn't it? It looks too new and too fresh. So we want to age it a little bit, and how we do that is with some acrylic paints. We've got black, green and brown. But we're going to start with black, and then the kids are going to have a go with some of the greens and things. So let's see how this goes. So this is me doing some of the techniques that I did last year on my tombstones, dripping down watered down acrylic paint mainly in this particular case. It doesn't work quite as well on the papier-mâché as it did on the foam that I did it on last year, but it still kind of gives this same aged, darkened effect, which I'm looking for. Dripping it down in all the gaps and the nooks and the crannies kind of gives it this aged, weathered, been out in all weathers kind of a look. As well as doing the black, the kids then, I let the kids do a bit. We applied some green in between some of the stones, and also a little bit of brown here and there too, just to give it like an extra bit of layer of colour. So guys, we've finished weathering the stone now that Finn and Ella helped. You helped, didn't you, Finn? Yeah. It looks pretty good. I think the finish looks pretty good. You can still see some of the stone effect coming through, the green and all the rest of it. And we might have gone a bit over the top maybe with the green. I'm not sure. Not sure how happy I am with some of the drip marks you can see. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. You would definitely say it looked like an aged old pillar. And we are testing it out with our flame effect light. It clearly isn't finished because we haven't put the top on yet. Over here we've been painting our tops and the bottom. We've been using the same foam we used last year. We've weathered and aged the edges. I've sort of cut chunks out of the edges of both, And yeah, you'll notice there's some holes in the top of both this and the pillar. I've used the same mixture of weatherproof all surface paint mixed with sand. So I've just gone for the mixture I used last year, which was pretty good, and when it was sealed it worked pretty well, so I think it still looks pretty good. It gives it a pretty good overall stone effect, and that will sit on the top. It's just the right size. Basically what we're going to have sticking out through the very top are some canes. I could use PVC pipe, I was tempted to do so, but we have lots of canes that we use in our garden each year, and I was going to stick them up through the top. They're 8-foot canes, so a good, say, 4 foot sticks up out of this, way above anyone's headline. And then when we have the same on the other pillar that we are still halfway through constructing, we will be able to join the two together with an arch, which will then put Medway Manor on, which is the name of our haunt. So this is going to be the sign that goes between the two pillars above your heads. As you can see, it's made out of my favourite building materials, garden canes, which I have spray painted black, and then I've literally just crisscrossed them over, and these will be attached here and here by the two canes that will be sticking out of each pillar. And there's approximately a 4-foot gap between each side, which is the width that it needs to be just to sit comfortably above our arch. And then you can obviously see I've spelt out the words Medway Manor, and in the centre I've created this kind of a pumpkin with sickle and sword going through it, which I've decided is like the emblem of Medway Manor. Basically, these letters are made out of cardboard. Most of you can probably tell that. What I did was dip these letters and this symbol into glue to harden them, and then I painted them gold and sort of dabbed over some black paint to give them a kind of a mottled look. But I'm quite happy with how it looks. I've glued them on with some Gorilla Glue, crystal clear, and I think it's looking pretty good. What do you think, Finn? Thumbs up from Finn. And here we are. We have finally, practically more or less, finished. And I think, guys, it looks pretty damn good. Now, it could be better. As I always say with everything I always make, it could be better. I could have done a better job on the pillars. I could have done a better job with the runs that go down it. I could have done a better job with the stone effect. I could have done a better job with sort of an arch that goes over it. For what we want for our haunt, I think this looks pretty awesome. You've still yet to be weatherproofed properly. I am planning to spray the pillars with, well, two different things actually. A spray-on sealer, which should seal them properly, and also a spray-on matte varnish, which is obviously really meant for wood, but should act pretty good at sealing these as well. Because at the end of the day, as though they're all covered in papier-mâché and are pretty rock solid, it'll only take a little bit of rain to completely knacker that up. But other than that, apart from that final bit of finishing touches on them, I am actually very, very happy with it. I love my sign with the pumpkin sword and sickle symbol that is the Medway Manor symbol. And I love, I think the flame lights look really good on this. When it's really, really dark, they'll look really awesome. I'm really loving the faces on the pillars. This one is a lot greener than this one because I really let the kids go to town on this one with the green paint. This one we held back a little bit and we were a little bit more restrictive of how much green paint we actually put on, so you can see a little bit more of the actual grey stone kind of colour. But I think all in all, they look pretty good. I think they look pretty stony. I think you can still tell they're made out of cardboard. I don't think anyone's going to think, wow, look at these stone pillars they put up in their garden. But generally, I think they still look pretty good. There is definitely an improvement on what we had last year. Don't you think, Finn?
Yeah.
Much better than what we had last year, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think we're pretty much done with this one. Time to move on to the next thing to build now. But I don't think the next one will take quite as long as this one did. See you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.